Entitled. Here we go. I recently created another online dating profile. My first attempt last fall was deleted after a string of no follow-ups and a whole lot of misunderstood intentions. But you know what? Maybe I didn't give it a fair shot. I described my foray into online dating last fall as sport dating. I wasn't even taking it seriously, it was practice. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, sport dating is a numbers game, and when you think you have a certain type of guy and start dating lots of men that fit that category, eventually you run into someone who knows someone who you just sport dated and left for dead. This happened twice last year. This is why I'm no longer into musicians, sports, or dating. Just kidding. I've been following a lot of sports lately. Anyway, I recently read in Glamour that San Francisco dudes are known for being online dating addicts. So I give it a go again. Everyone in my line of work is always saying, go where your audience is. So I went back online. I made another profile, but then I got really busy. So busy I haven't had a chance to actually meet anyone in person yet. I was in touch with a number of lovely potential suitors, one of which happened to get my digits and graduate to text-level correspondence.
Woo.
Let's call him Winston. Winston and I had some texting. Then Winston and I had some sexting. What an addictive little activity that is. Winston was starting a new job, so we wanted to hang out over the weekend, but I was co-hosting a bachelorette party, so I wasn't able to make plans with him. But the sexting continued. There were words and phrases, and there may or may not have been some pictures. Okay, so there were pictures, but they were carefully framed pictures, so if they're ever leaked on the internet, my parents would still be proud. Or better yet, they wouldn't even know it was me. So on Monday, I come into work more or less rested from the weekend's activities, and I noticed that one of my most favorite things ever was happening. We were getting a new employee at my company. I love New Employee Day. One of my coworkers came in to ask me if I was available to train the new employee on something, and of course I obliged, because as I mentioned, I love this shit. So a few hours go by, and finally the new employee arrives. I know this because I hear the door to the office open. I can't actually see the door to the office. Eventually, new employee is led back to me for an introduction. My colleague Sam walks in and says, "Hey Kate, I want to introduce you to Winston, the new developer." Holy shit! I almost spit out my coffee. I almost passed out. I'm sure I turned the brightest of all reds. I shake Winston's hand and I start thinking about how the internet lies. Why, you ask? Well, the Winston before me looks slightly different than the Winston with the giant imagination, but only slightly. This Winston has some stubble and is a bit shorter than I imagined, but both Winstons share the same hair and eye color and build. The Winston in front of me also seems a little shocked, and perhaps a little entertained by this all. We awkwardly shake hands, and then my colleague reminds us that in about an hour, I get to go sit alone in a room with Winston and train him. I've already trained this one, I think to myself as they both walk out of the office. So what do you do when something like this happens? You email all your girlfriends and find out that no one has a good idea about what to do, and all I can say is holy shit like 15 bajillion times. So I compose myself. I'm only 98% convinced that this is the same person, see, and we've never met in person, and well, if you don't know about how the pictures on the internet should be taken with a grain of salt, then we should have a talk. I send the real Winston a text message saying, did that really just happen? But then I realize I'd have to walk out of my office to have it actually send because I don't have any service in my little sales cave. And that means walking past the new Winston, and that wasn't going to happen. So some deep breaths later, I resolved to walk into that training like the consummate professional I'm really good at pretending to be, and act like we haven't sent each other filthy prose and some semi-questionable pictures just yesterday. The training happens. Winston's nervous, and I manage to hold my shit together in a way that leads me to believe that if this is in fact the Winston, I could probably do the whole double life bit for a little while longer, but not much. The training ends, and I leave, and I'm now only 80% sure that it's the same person. All I had to do was ask him his last name, but did I think of that? No, of course not. All I could think of was the fact that one of my coworkers has almost definitely seen my boobs. The end of the day finally comes, and I escape my office and gingerly walk past Winston's desk. Right as I feel like I'm in the clear and reaching for the door to let myself out, someone taps me on the shoulder and I vomit. Just kidding. I turn around and there's Winston with a smirk on his face that now puts me back to 98%. He asks where I'm headed and I meekly say, home. go get a drink first? And I meekly say, sure. We walk out of the office in silence as my cheeks begin burning and I stifle a sudden urge to run. As we mosey up to the bar at the Gold Dust Lounge, Winston gets a text. He pulls his phone out in front of me and laughs. He doesn't just laugh. He laughs and smiles coyly, and suddenly 98% just turned into 99, and this is actually happening. I ask Winston what his last name is, and he says, I'm pretty sure you already know. Bam! Like that, I'm suddenly in my own rom-com. I laugh nervously and begin to down $2 margaritas, and the conversation flows. And arms are touched, and phones are put away, and this is real now. This is really happening. Sport dating season's opening night game is here, and fuck, it's a doozy. 2 hours later, I'm walking with Winston back to his apartment. 6 hours later, I'm waking up in Winston's bed with one of the worst headaches that's ever existed in history, and I can't find my bra. 9 hours later, I'm sitting back at my desk wearing the same outfit as yesterday, sipping Gatorade, and it tastes like shame. Sassy shame. 10 hours later, I quit my job. The end. Just kidding. What kind of girl do you think I am? Don't answer that. Rewind back to me leaving the office the day before. Rather than going to drinks with Winston, I slip out unnoticed and walk down the street, still unsure what the fuck just happened. I get my 6 p.m. barrage of texts and missed calls once I get outside and my cell service is reestablished. And look, sexting Winston has responded from my text earlier with a single question mark. He had no idea what I was talking about when I asked him if this really just happened. Rejoice! A few texts later, I discern that sexy Winston and new employee Winston are not in fact the same person. They're just eerily similar looking, share the same name, both started new jobs yesterday, and apparently they both blush when I talk to or text them. So there's that. That's the thing that almost happened to me, and well, sometimes almost is just a better story.
Yeah.
The end. For real.